A natural hat trick for Jason Robertson lifts the Stars over the Islanders, but the Stars win comes with a loss as Lian Bichsel exits the game early in the second period. We'll recap the entire weekend next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Stars rattle off 2 straight wins coming out of the break, and they cap it off with a Jason Robertson natural hat trick in the second period to take down the Islanders by a final score of 4-3. But it does come with a loss. Lian Bichsel exits the game early in the second period after a hit to his head by Casey Cizakas. The Stars did convert on the power play that ensued, but it's a big loss for Dallas, who is already thin at the defensive position. We're going to recap this entire weekend, but first, I want to get into a Stars versus Islanders reaction with Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders. We were able to catch up for a bit following the contest, so without further ado, here is my reaction with Gil.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Stars, Joey Erickson. And Joey, nice start for the Stars after the Four Nations break. They go east to the New York metropolitan area, beat the Devils on Saturday, beat the Islanders on Sunday. How important was a good start after this break for the Stars?
Yeah, I thought it was massive because the Stars hit the break on sort of a high note as well, and they needed to continue to improve on what they really did towards the end of January into the Four Nations break, and that is a really strong power play. Since the turn of the new year, I think the Stars are top 5 in power play percentage, and they were pretty abysmal for the first 2 or 3 months, especially with the amount of weapons they are deploying out there. So they had to get a couple of W's with some different styles. We had some great goaltending against New Jersey, and as we just watched against the Islanders, the Stars employed the hold on for dear life strategy in the third period as they were dealing with some losses to Bichsel after the hits, which I'm sure we'll get into, and then the Matt Dumba penalty. So he was out for 17 minutes, and the Stars were able to hold on and get it done. But the Bichsel injury does loom pretty large for Dallas, who's already pretty thin on the blue line.
Yeah, let's talk about there were 2 controversial calls in the game. One, the hit by Casey Cizakas on Bichsel, which was ruled a match penalty. And then the Islanders did have a goal taken off the board due to goalie interference. Let's start with the Bichsel hit because that one obviously had a bigger impact.
Yeah, if I had to get into the Zebras' minds when electing to go with the match penalty, I think it comes from a place where Bichsel was going to play the puck. Of course, he's retreating, and Cizakas, as he does, and he has done for a decade plus in New York. He's going in on the forecheck, and he's trying to send you 6 rows deep. But I think where the match penalty came into play was Bichel's trying to play the puck. Cizakas is trying to line up Bichsel. And do I believe he was trying to go shoulder to head? No, but that's where the contact came from. And the NHL has made it apparent, at least in recent years, they want to take that type of hit out of the game. And I think it was fair if they want to get rid of that type of hit, you're going to have to hand out some of those match penalties. And they elected to go with that. And credit to Dallas, they punched back via Dumba, who came in to stick up for his young partner, which I loved. A little old school hockey there. He came in and he got his money's worth too, as he had to sit for 17 minutes. But the Stars took care of business and made them pay on the scoreboard as well, with a couple of power play goals. With I think they had 3 minutes to go on that major penalty, so they had all the time in the world to score, and they made him pay against an Islanders PK that struggled this season, and they get the job done. So I thought it was a fair call, and now I'm more concerned with Bichsel and his health moving forward, because he's only played 18 games with the Stars, and you may think that's not a big blow, but it is. He's given Dallas some physicality, and we got to see it a little bit in the game too. Had a big hit early in the contest, and he's been an integral part of this Stars back end for the last month or so. So it is a big loss moving forward.
Now, we still don't know the extent of the injury and how long, if at all, he'll be out after this, but hopefully it's not a serious situation. You talked earlier about the power play kind of picking things up over the last few weeks. What's been different? What have they been doing better on the power play?
Yeah, I think it's been I think it's been a combination of things. Some of it I feel is just some bounces are going their way a bit more often, but a large part of it has been Thomas Harley and Miro Heiskanen, who went down a few weeks ago, was part of some of the success early in January. But Harley's earned a right to be on the top power play unit for Dallas. And he has a shoot first and score mentality, whereas Miro Heiskanen likes to defer a bit more. But with Harley on the back end sort of dictating play, he gets shots through on net, and the Stars are cleaning up some rebounds. And a big part of their success is what we saw tonight against New York, is where they got a shot on net, Sorokin would make the save, and Dallas was able to hustle and get to some of those battles in the corners and come away with those pucks, and they were able to reload and re-rack to get second chance opportunities. Early in the season, a lot of one and dones. You just get the one shot and it's cleared. They're able to win some of those battles along the wall and get second chance opportunities. And a lot of it has just come down to execution. Robertson's finally starting to, stack some goals together, which is a great sign. What a hat trick he had tonight. I think he did it in a span of 8 minutes and 40 seconds, which was pretty remarkable. So I think it's a combination of things. And I think Harley has a lot to do with it. And there just seem to be spreading the puck around more with some pace. There's not a lot of lethargicness in their game, where I think early on in the season you're just thinking about it too much, and then when you're thinking out there, things can go haywire.
Trade deadline is now less than 2 weeks away. You mentioned some of the injuries on the blue line. What are the Stars looking to accomplish, and what are they willing to give up to get it?
Yeah, I think they would love to add a Brock Nelson type, just to throw his name out there. I don't know if that's necessarily the exact player they are going to be on. I know Nelson's been thrown out there quite a bit, it seems like, for the last few months. But if they can add a depth piece that can score goals for them, they would probably love to do that, sort of like they acquired with Mikhail Granlund just a few weeks ago, but before the break. But more importantly now, if Lian Bichsel is going to be out for a significant amount of time, you're already down Miro Heiskanen till maybe the second to last week of the regular season. And who knows even if he's going to be back for that. We may have to wait until game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So they do have some cap space to work with if they want to. They're going to have to add a defenseman. And even without the injuries, I want Dallas to go out and add a defenseman, whether that's, David Savard of Montreal, sort of, a PK veteran type guy, or Rasmus Ristolainen, who's, big and physical, who's playing some heavy minutes and in Philadelphia. Those are the type of pieces Dallas is looking for, because they have the makeup and roster constructed to make a deep run. But then it also begs the question, as you mentioned, what do you want to give up? Right. And I don't think they want to give up Wyatt Johnston, who I'm sure if you go out to get like that blue chip type of player, he's going to have to be included. They're not going to do that. He's going to be untouchable. I don't think they want to give up Maverick Bork or even Logan Stankoven, who was healthy scratch tonight. I think those players are off limits too. So Jim Nill's going to have to use his gymnastics and have to rely on his back-to-back NHL GMs of the year awards and have to come up with something interesting to go get somebody to make an impact, because Dallas is being rewarded now for their drafting. They're being rewarded by having these young guys that are coming in and adding impact at the NHL level. But if you want to get some good players, you're going to have to maybe give up on some. So I'm curious to how they go about their business.
Do they have a first-round pick to give up this year, next year? What's the situation with that?
They do not have a first-round pick next year, and I don't believe they have. I think they have their first in 20. It would be the 2020, I guess, 7. I think that, but yeah, they don't have a ton of picks either, which makes it even more difficult. So they do not have a first next year, but they do have a 26 and 27 first-round pick. And even to make it more challenging, they don't have a second-round pick for this upcoming season too. So yeah, they're going to be pretty light. But 2026, they have some room to work for. Maybe they're just going to have to find a team that wants to bite here in 12 days.
And a team that's a little patient as well.
So. Yes. Yeah. They I don't think they're going to be in a huge hurry. And you also have to factor in Stars are missing Seguin right now.
Yeah.
That's another piece. So, and it seems the rumblings are that he's going to be ready for the postseason. I guess the question is, what is he going to look like coming off another surgery on his hip? But he was a point per game player before he went down here with the Stars. Got 20 points in 19 games. So maybe Dallas isn't as concerned about adding, a bottom 6 or even a top 6 winger, because you feel like with Seguin potentially coming back at the end of the regular season, that can sort of be a deadline acquisition for you. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you, unsaturated fats to help you keep that feeling of being fuller longer. The fact is, Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. It's a great snack for those of you who are on the go. We're always running around trying to get stuff down. And of course, we want a sweet treat sometimes. Substitute that sweet treat for a Wonderful Pistachios grab and go. It's so delicious and it's perfect. You get that satisfying crack of opening each shell. Get snacking and cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Want to thank Gil for having me on Locked On NHL. Always nice to catch up with him, and figured I would throw that in here on today's episode since we touched on a bit of everything from the weekend. And speaking of the weekend, let's take a closer look at the 2 wins for Dallas. One over New Jersey and one over New York. A lot of positives coming out of the break. I love the starts for Dallas in the first 2 games. Really strong first periods. They jump out to a 2-0 lead over New Jersey with the help of a power play goal as well. And then last night, Sam Steele opens the scoring for Dallas inside the opening 3 minutes against the Islanders, which allowed the Stars to play out in front, play on their toes a bit, and play more towards their identity, and they could dictate the play a bit more. So love the starts coming out of the break in the first 2 games. And I think had a lot to do with the Stars finding ways to win both of the games. Number 2 is a power play that is just rocking and rolling right now. And that is massive for Dallas. The power play has been a hot topic for a large part of this season, but over the last month and a half now, it has been a huge revelation for Dallas. And they showed this graphic on Victory Plus that I want to share with you. Since January 1st, the Stars power play is clipping at 31.3%. That is fourth in the NHL, and they've now scored 16 power play goals in their past 19 games. So that is a massive step forward for Dallas. And it's not only that they're executing, they're scoring some big time goals. Look at the New Jersey game. You get off to a quick start. You have a 1-0 lead. New Jersey takes a penalty after you continue to keep the pressure on, and then you capitalize as Thomas Harley ripped one past Allen for his 10th goal of the season. And that's a big-time goal. It gives you some breathing room, and it sets the tone coming back from the break, and it's a timely power play goal for the Stars. And then, of course, last night, Jason Robertson gets 2 goals against a awful Islanders PK. You have to make the Islanders pay when you get your opportunities. And thanks to Casey Cizakas, the Stars got 3 minutes of power play time where they could score as much as they would like. And then boom, Robertson pots a couple home. A natural hat trick for 21. It spanned 8 minutes and 40 seconds, marking the fastest hat trick by a Stars player since April 7th of 2018. And that's when Jamie Benn scored 3 in a span of 5 minutes and 17 seconds. So really strong starts and really strong power plays in the first 2 contests coming out of the break for the Stars. And I think that's a huge sign moving forward, since I felt like the Stars going into the break were starting to play some of their best hockey. I just feel like it's been a slow, gradual progression of the Stars play this season, where they're just sort of bumping along. It's been up and down here and there. But since the turn of the new year, I just feel like they're steadily getting better and better. And I think the approach for this season for the Stars is to just be peaking at the right time. And that's always easier said than done. And the Stars are not as worried about winning the Western Conference or winning the number 1 seed in the Central. Whereas last season, we heard that a lot. That was some chatter coming out of the locker room about winning the Central, about winning the West, or even going after the President's Trophy. We're really not hearing that, if at all, this season. And I think that's a perfect approach, and maybe one the Stars have to have with the injuries that just continue to seem to pile up. And we'll get to Lian Bichsel in just a moment, but really love the strong starts from Dallas. Would love for them to stop getting scored on just moments after scoring a big-time goal. And Bichsel got lost as Palmieri snuck behind him off the restart after Robertson's first goal in the second period. And then Palmieri, from his knees, was able to get back up and then roof one on Otter, who had a really rough and shaky start. The first goal he gave up was an awful one, in my opinion. He's got to have that one, as Engvall just sort of pull-cued it through his legs, but he shut it down the rest of the way. And they needed him because the Stars were gassed and just holding on for dear life. Good to see Robertson, come firing out of the break too. A huge 3 goals for him. He's now up to 23 goals on the season. And don't forget about Matt Duchene, who now has 4 straight multi-point nights. 4 straight multi-point nights for Matt Duchene. He continues to just be an absolute workhorse for the Stars. And, Dallas did enough last night against the Islanders. They had more scoring chances at 5-on-5. It was 25-17. They outchanced them 39-21 in all situations. The third period was sort of a debacle, but look, the Stars had to deal with the hand that got dealt to them in that third period. And I love that Matt Dumba stood up for Lian Bichsel after the hit by Cizakas. And Dumba unfortunately got the 17 minutes, but that's the rule nowadays. And Dallas had to rotate 4D man the rest of the way. And they found a way to close the door, and that's all you can ask for. I will say this too. about Matt Dumba, and I want to show him some love because he's been the butt end of a lot of jokes on Locked On Stars and just other outlets that talk Stars hockey on a daily basis. And I think a lot of it is fair, but he's looked rather good here recently. And I think I've mentioned that a few times here and there, but I thought he had an excellent game against the Devils. He graded out as the highest player on the Stars via hockey stat cards. And Bichsel was right there with them. That seems to be a really comfortable pairing. CC and Harley look to have some chemistry too. And then Lindell and Lyubushkin are just that stable duo that can just shut down opposing offenses. And there isn't a ton of quality there. I get it. And I know a lot of fans are upset with Matt Dumba, but this is good for Dallas. It's a win-win situation if Dumba is playing the way he is. I think his passing's been a lot better, and you saw that in the first period when Dallas had so much room to create and make plays through center ice. I don't know if that's because Dallas was on their game as much as it was New York was just slow trying to find their legs once again, after being on beaches probably for the last week and a half. But he's been a bit more productive too. He had a 3-game assist streak and just starting to look a bit more comfortable. And I think there's some confidence there. He still has his ups and downs. You're going to have to work with that. But it is a win-win for the Stars for a few reasons. Number one, it's just nice that he's playing well. Dallas could use it. They don't have a ton of options right now on the back end. Number two is if the Stars are going to shop him at the deadline, he's playing some of his best hockey right now. And that's when a lot of eyeballs are going to be on him of other teams watching if Dallas is trying to offload his contract, trying to get something in return. He is playing some of his better hockey, and that is good news for Dallas too. So that's why I say it's a win-win if Matt Dumba is playing that way. But a real strong start coming out of the break, and it's a massive 2 wins to begin this little East Coast swing. And now they have Columbus here on Tuesday. So just a massive start coming out of the break, and I think you're seeing a little bit of what you would expect from the Stars here in the final month and a half. Just having some of their best players, score some big time goals, and they're getting superb goaltending. I mean, Casey DeSmith had 33 saves the other night against New Jersey. He was brilliant. If it wasn't for him, the Devils would have walked away with a win. DeSmith had 31 saves in that game against New Jersey, and then Otter, follows it up with 34 saves himself. So sort of the blueprint for the Stars this season. And it's nice that the power play is clicking. Good to see Johnston get moved back to center, and they allowed Maverick Bourque to play up front with Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson. Bourque picks up an assist, and he's just getting better as we roll along. He's got a modest little 5-game point streak going right now, and he got rewarded. Somebody that was not rewarded was Logan Stankoven, and I sort of wanted to touch on that too. Look, the Stars have a lot of different options up front with the depth they have, and if you're not producing, Pete DeBoer is going to take you out of the lineup. And as much as I love Stankoven and what he can do from away from the puck, I think this sends a message that you have to pick up some points. You have to score goals. As much as I love Stankoven and what he does do for Dallas outside of picking up points, they need him to score some goals. They need him to be productive if Dallas wants to make a deep run. They need him to be a part of that, of the collective offense. And you can make the argument he's not playing up front in the top 6, but as I touched on with Maverick Bourque earlier in the season, you have to earn those minutes. You have to earn being within the top 6. He has to earn playing with Wyatt Johnston and Ben. He has to earn having opportunities with Robertson and Hintz. And right now, Bork has earned some of those by his play, and he got rewarded last night, gets to play on that top line, and had a really strong night. So it's not something to be alarmed. He gets a night to watch the game. That's good for a young player. Gets a chance to watch the game, sort of reset. It was a back-to-back anyway, so get another day of rest. He'll be right back in the lineup, I would suppose, although Blackwell had a really strong game. He probably bought himself maybe another game, maybe another 2, and Stankoven is going to have to start producing if he wants to find himself in the lineup. So I think it's a good message that DeBoer is sending, because they have this depth. They need to use it. And it was good to get Blackwell in a game too. I don't think they want to go, a week after already being off 2 weeks and have Blackwell sit. They need their veteran to get in there and get his legs moving. So there we go. That's sort of what I have to say on the weekend. A lot to kind of dissect and get into, which is good on a Monday with a couple of Stars W's. Now let's get into the Bichsel injury. And I talked a bit about it with Gil, but I want to take a deeper dive into that as well. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting. When you're backing your team for that late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, you never feel like you missed that chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Visit FanDuel.com to get started and get in on the action. And right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Well, I felt like I needed to have a segment revolving around Bichsel, and I was sort of already planning on having one. Unfortunately, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons now, but let's get into some of the positives before we talk about the loss as a whole. Man, Lian Bichsel has had an impact on Dallas, and this is why I have named him as one of the most important players for the Dallas Stars moving forward for the next few months and into the postseason. That physicality, that edge he plays with, and we got it on full display in the first 2 games coming out of the break, and they showed it on the broadcast as well. 70 hits in his first 17 NHL games, 4.1 hits per game. That's third most in the NHL. And yes, it's a small sample size, but the fact that I'm even talking about this injury with as much significance as I am, I think sort of hammers the point home about how important Lian Bichsel is to the Dallas Stars as someone that didn't even make the roster coming out of camp and was called up for the first time a few months ago, then was sent back down, and now he's back, and he's clearly one of the 6 best defensemen on the Dallas Stars, and it feels like a big blow if he's unable to come back here in the next few weeks. And now you have the trade deadline, and it'll be 11 days now. And I think you have to take that into consideration if you're GM Jim Nill. And maybe there's a tad bit of overreaction here, but he did not come back after leaving in the second period. He was ruled out with an upper body injury, and anything that has to deal with your head, the staff has to be very, very cautious. and he's an important part of this blue line for Dallas in a multitude of ways. And I think that the first few shifts against the Islanders was a perfect representation of that. I mean, that first shift was just the way he closed off a forechecker, took the body, took the puck with him. Then he was being pursued, and he's big, but he's also dainty enough and skilled enough to keep the puck on his stick. Couple of switches of directions, uses his body to box out the pressure, and then he snaps it ahead. He finds an outlet pass, and boom, the Stars are off and running the other way. That first shift just embodies everything that the Stars desperately need more of on the back end. Someone that is strong and big along the end walls that can win those battles. And Dallas won a lot of those 50-50 battles early, and then they started to get away from that. And partially, I think it was just New York being better. They were kind of awful in that first period and some change. But I just think it's a significant blow, and they're already thin with the loss of Miro Heiskanen, and who knows, he could be back the very next game. That's always a possibility, and I will be absolutely ecstatic if that's the case. But it's just a tough hit, and you hate to see it. And fortunately, I think the NHL got it right by giving Cizakas a match penalty, and then credit to the Stars for sticking up for him. Number one, Matt Dumba, credit to him, and then making the Islanders pay on the scoreboard as well. Just feels like big gutty performances by the Stars coming out of the break. So unfortunately, it comes with a loss for now. There was no further update on Lian Bichsel after the game, so we'll continue to monitor that as the week goes on. But I think it is a huge loss. Like we got to see it in the first two games. I mean, he's just blowing up some guys. And number one, it's clean, right? It's not nasty or anything. Like, it's just clean, heavy hits, like straight to the body. And then ironically, he gets hit with sort of a nasty one by Cizakas, and now he's out for the time being. But I thought just some gutty performances over the weekend for Dallas. And if you would ask me, do you think this will factor in on how Dallas goes about the business at the deadline? I would say, hell yeah, it probably does, because I think that the Stars are one more injury away on the blue line from it being like devastating, like devastating, and you're just hoping that you can make some noise in the postseason, right? And maybe that's too dire of an outlook on it, but you know, if Miro comes back, what type of player is he going to be after needing knee surgery? Like, he's going to need some time to progress. And then if you have any more issues with whether that's Dumba, who's already had some injuries this season, you can't continue to stack up these issues. If number one, you want to try to go out and get some pieces, and number two, if you just want to put your best foot forward in the postseason, and we still have plenty of time before that, but just to excuse my mindset of constantly thinking about the playoffs at this point. It's just it's that time of the year where the push is on. It's now a race to the finish line, and just gutted that it feels like, you know, every few games it's another guy that's down. Lyubushkin left early too. At one point, he left in the first period. Fortunately, he came back, and that's, you know, the third time he's gone down the tunnel this season. So what is he dealing with? There's obviously something there that continues to get re-aggravated. And when does it get to the point where he can't go, right? Like, there's a lot of worries, in my opinion, on this blue line that's already really, really thin. So I guess it's good for me to just vent and get it all out and get it out in the open. So we'll hope for the best on Bichsel throughout the week. But that'll do it for a Monday edition of Locked On Stars. We got to do a little bit of everything, including my chat with Gil on Locked On NHL. Be sure to follow those guys as well. They're great, and they get a lot of the different hosts here on the Locked On Podcast Network to go on there and chat about hockey every single day. As always, thank you so much for the love and support. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode. Locked On Stars is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And the Stars are 2-0 coming out of the break and continuing to get better and better, which is the positive coming out of the last 2 games. I want to thank you for joining me on this Monday episode. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back on Tuesday with a little preview of the Columbus Blue Jackets to wrap up a road trip. We'll do that tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.